I do not want to see the massacres that are going on. I do not want to see Bashar al-Assad stay in position. But when you make that assertion, which the president did last year, then you have to immediately follow it up with a credible presence or a credible, next step. And we haven't been able to do that. So.
Who's got the mic and a question?
Hi, Corey Segmiller, Ave Maria School of Law in Southwest Florida.
Oh, yeah.
We're glad to have you here.
Thank you,
Congressman West. I just have a question about as we work towards maintaining U.S. military superiority, how do we ensure that that superiority is used to deal with keeping the security of the United States intact and not being used as a global police force for regional conflicts and other things that have nothing to do with really U.S. interests but just geopolitics?
Well, I think that's where you have to have individuals that with a understanding of 3 levels of warfare, strategic, operational, and tactical. They know what it means to employ your military. But I think first and foremost, we have to protect the sea lanes of commerce. When you look at the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood now is controlling the Suez Canal, that's a concern for me. When you look at what is happening there in the Straits of Hormuz, that lends back to us having energy independence so we can develop the full spectrum of energy resources here so we don't have to be concerned so much about the Straits of Hormuz. And we can pull those naval forces back truly, and we can take away that threat. When you look at what is going on with China as well, extending themselves. And the biggest threat is to Taiwan. And Taiwan is looking for us to be able to provide some type of assistance. And then I think that's very important in the Pacific Rim as well as with Vietnam and the Philippines. So I think that's why, again, you have to sit down and look at this by geographic AORs, as I said, Southcom, CENTCOM, AFRICOM, PACOM, and start to look at what are the emerging threats that you would have to contend for the next 10 to 15 years and build your capability and capacity to be able to contend against those threats. I talk about the 21st century battlefield. This 21st century battlefield is totally different, unlike any other battlefield we face, because this battlefield is centered on non-state, non-uniform belligerents that have no respect for international borders, boundaries, or what have you. And so you have to have a totally different type of mindset. I think that when you look at our military, we need to move away from a forward deployed type of military. We have, we're in, Germany or we're in Korea, kind of a Cold War holdover. We need to go toward a power projection type of military. And that, once again, lends you to understand, the maritime platforms that you can use, and also the quick strike type of forces that you can use, more of your light capability forces, a expeditionary mindset, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps. That's what we have to start looking at. And so it really is a reworking of, our strategic level posture of our military so that we can be flexible along the entire spectrum from low intensity to high intensity if it ever comes to that. Although I don't believe that anyone is willing to take on a military superior United States of America on the battlefield, but they will try to fight you as this asymmetric type of manner. Now, be very careful. I mean, you can say that, Boko Haram in Nigeria may not have any effect on the United States of America, but it speaks to your values when, you have the Christian community over there being pretty much so murdered. And there's also an oil-rich country in Nigeria. You have to understand the concerns that can have on the global markets as well, which once again links back to us having our own energy independence. So I am not one that thinks that we need to send, the United States military all over to try to quell every single, uprising or conflict. But I think that, once again, as Ronald Reagan said, you can have peace through strength.
Eagle Forum has worked very hard to defeat the Law of the Sea Treaty, and it looks like we may win that battle. Would you like to comment on that treaty?
Well, the interesting thing, I'm on the House of Representatives side, so we really do not have the interaction as far as the treaties. That's more on the Senate side and, of course, straight to the President. But we cannot cede our, our sea lanes and our waterways to this international organization, and that's one thing that very much so concerns me. We got this thing about the gun laws, this international gun law coming up as well. So I don't want to see us lose our relationship as far as being able to be a sovereign nation and being able to dictate what we do as far as operating on the open seas, and of course those waters that are close into our shoreline. So I am hoping that the loss is defeated in the Senate. This is something that they've been working on towards quite some time, because I think it really leads to a subservience of the United States of America.
You mean you don't think some bunch of bureaucrats in Jamaica should make those decisions for us?
Well, I got to be careful about this, because I'm married to a Jamaican.
Oh.
And her cousin happens to be a minister of their parliament. So I might have to be careful about, and they might not let me go down on vacation, in Montego Bay. No, I think that we have to be a sovereign nation, and we cannot allow other countries. Hey, honey, I'm not messing with Jamaica, but we can allow other countries to dictate our policies and make us subservient to their whims.
Question over here.
Congressman West, I have a question. These young people sitting in front of you, the media has portrayed college campuses and the youth of this nation as being totally behind the left and Obama. What do you tell these people, these young men and women who are excited and proud to be who they are and represent what they are, they can do to actually change that? Make the media understand that there is a large conservative youth base that can put Barack Obama out of office in November.
Well, I will tell you that the whole mantra of hope and change is starting to become divide and conquer. I think that a lot of the young people back in 2008 who are sitting at home in their mommy's and daddy's basement and they don't have a job, that's that 45 to 50%, they feel that the American dream is slipping away. And what you all represent is the next generation, truly, of constitutional conservatives that understand that this is a republic and that the rule of law must be adhered to, and we must maintain that sense of individual industrialism and individual sovereignty. So it's hard on college campuses right now. I know it is. Some people would kind of say you guys are behind enemy lines. But if that be the case, continue to stand. Continue to stand on principle. Continue to stand with courage and conviction, because what you believe in is the fundamental basis of this nation. When you go back and you read the Declaration, when you go back and read the United States Constitution, that's who we are. That makes us unique. That makes us exceptional. That means that a young man like myself, born in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, can grow up and have a 22-year military career, command an Army battalion in combat, and be a member of the United States House of Representatives and stand here before you with Phyllis Schlafly. That's what we cannot lose in this country. But that's the threat. Part of our DNA, part of our genome as Americans is that we pass on to the next generation the blessing of liberty, freedom, and democracy. And that is what I'm afraid about. And Ronald Reagan talked about that freedom, is only one generation away from being lost. It's something that we pass through in the bloodlines of this great nation. And that's why I look out upon you all. And I have two daughters, 19 and 15. You all are our future. And the media does not want to admit that you exist. And you're looking at, the number one guy that the liberals and the liberal media seem to love to hate. George Soros just put a $5 million price tag on my head. So, hi, George. Happy. But the thing is this. Use your social media. Okay? Get your message out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Connect with others so that people know that there is another voice out there. And we have to have the continuum throughout all of our age group, all of the demographics that show that this thing that you all believe in, this thing that Heritage Foundation, this thing that Eagle Forum promotes, limited government, fiscal responsibility, individual sovereignty, free market, traditional cultural values, strong national defense, that's what makes America great.
Question? Wait for the mic.